Hi everyone, we hope you had a great Christmas and New Year. Welcome to the Full Pelt Music Podcast, coming to you now in 2022. We'll be talking in a moment with Steven from Blood Red Shoes about their new album, Ghosts on Tape. But before then, just a couple of the usual reminders for myself. Please do follow us on social media, on Facebook at Full Pelt and on Twitter and Instagram at Full Pelt Music. And of course, if you are watching the video edition of this podcast, please hit that subscribe button. Please give us a like to stay up to date with the latest from Full Pelt Music, including the return of the Discover New Music podcast coming to you very, very soon. Today we're joined by Steven Ansell from Blood Red Shoes. Thank you very much, Steven, for joining us. I know it's a very busy day for you today. We're talking on Thursday and your album comes out at midnight tonight.
That's right.
So you must be very excited, but how are you today?
I'm really good. And you're right, I am excited. This record, has been slowed down for obvious reasons, shall we say. So to have it finally coming out is pretty satisfying. Yeah.
It must be. So the record is Ghosts on Tape. And we'll talk a little bit about the delays in the recording process in a moment, because I know that it's been somewhat delayed. But what should fans expect from this album if they're listening to it and they're not perhaps familiar with Blood Red Shoes, or they are, because it's slightly different to some of your past material?
Yeah, I mean, if you are familiar with Blood Red Shoes, the chances are you're familiar with some older stuff that's the most popular on Spotify, but is very, very different to this record, which is quite what would I call it? I mean, to me, I actually think this record's kind of a goth record.
Yeah.
It's kind of a secretly goth record. Like, the lyrical themes are very kind of dark. There's a lot of talk about murder. There's a lot of talk about ghosts. There's a lot of imagery that's quite bleak and ominous. Musically, it's a lot darker and sort of heavier and kind of 80s sounding compared to where we started out. So if you're new to us, that's what it's like. And if you're not new to us, you might be surprised how different it is to what we started out like.
Yeah, definitely. I've been familiar with the band since It's Getting Boring by the Sea, which I guess would be one of the popular ones on Spotify.
Exactly.
So, been aware of you guys for a while. And yes, it is a very dark record, both, lyrically, but musically as well. We will have the review going live on our website very shortly. And it's a very positive one. We've really, really enjoyed the album.
Thank you very much.
You talked about the excitement of finally getting it out. So I believe it was recorded in March of 2022. So can you just...
2020.
Sorry, yes, March of 2020.
Cool if we recorded it in the future, though.
That would be pretty cool, definitely. But I mean, it is almost 2 years now since you actually recorded it. So talk to us about that delay and how that's felt for you.
I mean, it's a weird one. The only thing I will say is that has been sort of mediated by the fact that we've made quite a few albums and we've had albums delayed in the past. And we were, at one point, we've been on quite a few different record labels over time. At one point we were on a major label, and even when everything was working, in inverted commas, properly, they still took 8 months to put out a record from us finishing it. So at least we have some experience in making something and having to wait for it to come out. This time it's been obviously quite different, but what we learned from the past was the way to do it is, as soon as COVID hit, we knew everything was going to go batshit crazy. Yeah. So what we did was kind of hide the record, like bury it. And our thing was, don't listen to it, because if we listen to it, we'll overanalyze it. We'll find all these flaws. We'll want to remake it, or we'll want to take songs off it, or we'll just get bored of it and not want to release it at all. So we did this kind of mind trick to ourselves where we said, okay, the world's going nuts. We can't put this out yet because we can't go on tour. So we gotta pretend like it doesn't exist. So for quite a while we were pretending it didn't exist, and it sort of worked. But then there was a bit of a lifespan to that, and then we kind of hit a point where we were like, okay, this is too long now. We need to do something. Yeah. So actually what happened was we got really restless. We wrote and recorded an EP and put that out. So we've now ended up in this strange situation where 6 months ago we released an EP, which is newer than the thing we're releasing right now. Because nothing makes sense in the COVID era.
No, exactly.
Time and space has gone very wavy. So for a time it worked, and it what you know what, it actually wasn't too bad sitting on the record and waiting, because I mean, firstly, we didn't have a choice, but also everybody else was doing it too.
Yeah.
I think it would have been worse if we'd have seen everybody else releasing albums and going on tour and doing stuff. We would have been like, why the fuck aren't we doing that? But they weren't. So I don't feel like it was too hard to deal with this time, at least.
Yeah, for me, I think the delay has worked well in a quite unique way, because obviously the theme around the album is of being an outsider or an outcast.
Yeah.
And obviously over the last 2 years, a lot of us have kind of been cut off from our social aspects of our lives. So perhaps we can actually relate more to the album now than we would have 2 years ago. Whether that's a good thing or not, given it's based on serial killers and is another question.
Yeah, we can all relate to serial killers. We just don't like to admit it. You know what? That's an interesting thought. Nobody said that to me, and I hadn't thought it until you said that. That does make a lot of sense, actually, because the record does have a lot of themes about being sort of. I think we as a band have always felt very outside of a lot of things that are going on musically and sort of culturally, and we've always been treated pretty weirdly by the entire music industry, media generally. I feel like people have never really understood us or bothered to try, and they've always thought like, what are you? We don't care. And a lot of that has gone into this record, along with our sort of addiction to true crime, serial killer podcasts and shows, which again are about outsiders. They're about extremities. They're about people that don't fit in the norms, and in a really harmful way in their case. But I hadn't really thought about the fact that would actually make more sense after the last 2 years. You're probably right, actually. So maybe it was meant to be. I don't know.
Precisely. Everything happens for a reason, like you say. And it is interesting to hear you talk about how the music industry have perhaps treated you in the past, because you are quite a difficult band to pigeonhole. You can't really put a label on you, and everyone obviously just wants to put a label on everything these days. With this album being a bit of a step sideways to an extent, does it like satisfy your creative needs, to do that?
I think whenever all of the records we've made have satisfied whatever creative urges we had at the time. We're very we're quite an impulsive type of band. We never really have a plan or have we never really have like a concept or go into an album with I guess we don't really have like a vision in advance. We don't have a decision. We don't have so all of our creativity is very instinctive. It's very based on how the two of us feel at the time we're making it, and if we both really think the thing we're making is cool, that's it. That's as far as it goes. So really all of our records in that sense like scratch the itch creatively, and they always come out kind of, they're always an expression of the thing we want to do at that time. Usually about 2 months after we've made it, we want to do something else, but they're always very genuine from that. So it feels this record feels a lot like the others in that respect, and that every time we feel like we're doing a thing that's an evolution of where it was before in whatever direction we felt like at the time,
Definitely. So the first track that graced us from Ghost on Tape was Morbid, Fascination. What about that song made you pick that as the first point for the album?
That was really easy for us. It was like I said, when we write for a record, we get together. It's like a process of trying to uncover what the album is. Like, my experience of creativity is very much like it's like you're turning a radio dial, trying to find the frequency, right? I feel like I'm searching. I don't feel like I'm deciding. I don't feel like I'm in charge, or that I often don't feel like I am even making it. I feel like I'm discovering it. So for us, it's this process of trying things out, trying different instruments, trying different feels, kicking stuff around, bringing different ideas of songs and melodies, and just being quite free about it until something just clicks, and that's when you've turned the dial and you just feel like it's clear to you what you're doing. And after the first couple of albums we made, that's all of our albums have had that. We found one song in the writing process that seems to fall into place and tell us what the album is. And on this album, it was Morbid Fascination.
Yeah.
It just clicked into place. And then we were like, this is what we're making. This is what the album is. It's this kind of 80s sort of gothic twist on the Blood Red Shoes thing. We had a real thing that we were enjoying, sort of not doing choruses in a typical way. We have this tendency to write choruses that are real, like, they work great at music festivals, actually. They're like really simplistic and everyone can sing along like easily. And we had this real thing in this record that we were kind of trying to lay off that and pull back and kind of play it cooler in the chorus and not try so hard, like a big shout moment. And we found that, and we found out we can just use guitar and synth melodies as a chorus hook instead of shouting, and everything about it just felt really right. So when we came to release the record to the world, it was the obvious one to put out first because it felt to us like it encapsulated everything else in the record. Really.
Oh, that's really interesting. Good to get an insight into the process for you guys there. And you mentioned about trying new things, and obviously, as we've discussed over the evolution of your career over the 6 albums now that are going to have come out, you've continued to try new things and to evolve. And actually tonight, as we're talking, you're going to be trying something slightly new. So live streams became quite popular during the last 2 years with everyone stuck at home. But yours is going to be slightly different tonight. I think you're building it more of as a TV show. So where did the inspiration for that come from?
That again is because as musicians, you're always hungry. Like, you always do a thing, and then the minute you've done the thing that you're doing, you're like, how do we do more? Like, there's like this kind of constant hunger you have as a creative person. And that's like, you might make a record and then you want to do more. For us, we did a live stream in lockdown, and we were like, that's cool, but how can we do more? How can we do more than just like anyone can do a live stream? That's become a completely normal thing. What can we do that's more with it? And when we'd never done live streams before. And when we did them, we realized there was a lot of potential with that format. And also just from watching other people, streamers on Twitch and things like that, you realize you can cut between live performance. You can cut into pre-recorded segments. You can have more interactive elements with the audience. So we realized we could kind of make a TV show, and it could be us live, but then you can cut to other artists. We're actually going to premiere, we only decided a few hours ago but we're going to premiere a new video tonight. And we're going to have bits of performances from other people. We're going to have this miniature documentary about one of the artists on Jazz Life, plus us playing live set. So you can do all these other things with it. It's a complete experiment. It might suck, but we want to try and do more than the typical thing. And see where it goes. And we're always big fans of making it not just about us. We spend a lot of time, for example, when we go on tour, picking support bands we really like to take on tour. That stuff matters to us. So when we have the option of doing a live stream and incorporating other music that we like and other artists, we'll always take that opportunity, because we really like, not just being the only thing in the room. We like sharing with other people. We like encouraging having other people come be part of things.
Well, that is a fantastic attitude to have, and kind of leads me into my next question, because sadly you've just had to cancel your tour that you had coming up. But obviously, you must be pretty devastated about. Obviously, you are going to be performing some more intimate in-store shows. But firstly, how important is it to you as an artist to be able to take your music out to the people?
It's essential. When we started the band, we didn't even think about releasing albums. We just played. We wanted to play, for me, that's where it starts. And then over time, we've got more into the art of making records. But it's very weird to now be releasing a record and not taking it to people. For me, it's like, that's how you make the record real. Is you take the stuff you've recorded and the songs that are recorded, and that's a static thing then. You know, once you've made it, it's that one way. It doesn't change. But you can go out every night and they're alive, and the songs are different, and they're different based on how people interact and how the crowd responds and the moods that you're in that night and the place, you know, and all those things. It's really, it feels very physical and it feels very real. And it's the only place where you get like a real time, real reaction from real people. Because you release an album, you know, you get reviews or you get sent clipping or you get a thing, but it's all very detached. It's not the same thing as when you launch into a song and you watch a crowd all at once jump up and down in time. Or there's something very real and like sort of life affirming about it.
Yeah,
that it's going to be really weird for me releasing this album and then having to wait. I don't know when we can tour. We're told it should be summer. We don't know yet.
No.
So to not have that, it's like, yeah, it feels really strange. It's like the album's coming out, but it's just floating away in the air because I can't make it real. So it is tough. Playing live is part of, I think, like our sense of identity, and a huge part of how music feels. Yeah, like it really exists. It's almost like, to me now, I'm like, is this album real or is it just like a dream? Am I dreaming? Because I can't sort of check it, you know, against real life. It's tough.
Yeah, it is. It's, the perfect storm that we've had of obviously COVID and everything that is caused, but you know, Brexit as well makes it harder to, you know, for us to tour across Europe. You know, so
very true. That hasn't helped.
Yeah, tough time for live music. Obviously, fans want to be at these shows, and bands, you know, as you demonstrate, desperately want to play them. You know, looking at summer, you know, looking at last year, hopefully summer could well happen for us. Have you got much lined up festival-wise for this summer?
We have got some. We've got a few festivals in different places around the world. I forget where they all are. I'm a bit hazy on it because we have some stuff even that's rescheduled from 2020 that's been moved twice. So I've sort of lost track a little bit, but we do have a load of festivals which I'm told should be going ahead.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, it's hard to know. Like I can't take anything at face value anymore. I mean, none of us can we?
No.
But I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful. It's the only way to be, is to be hopeful, I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. No, hopefully we'll all be in a field or in a little tiny room or big room.
We'd love to be in a field playing very, very loud as soon as possible. That sounds like me. Yeah,
definitely. So we touched on Jazz Life a little while ago, which is your own record label that you and your partner Blood Red Shoes, Laura Mary Carter, have put together. So obviously as a band you're relatively self-sufficient now, and obviously Ghosts on Tape is coming out through Jazz Life Records, I believe. You know, how important has it become to you to have that independence, you know, and what's the difference for you between that and back when you were on the major labels?
It's, for us, it's really important, I think, to have our independence, because I've talked about this a lot recently, because it's something that's come into focus more the older we've got as a band, and that's that we really are very outside. We have this tendency, and it's not on purpose, it's just who we are as people. We have a tendency to do things in an odd way. We have a tendency to piss off people because we don't do things in the sort of accepted way that you're supposed to do things. And we really don't have any time for people in the music industry, like wasting our fucking time, because we care deeply about what we do. It matters more than anything in the world. So when we have people around us, like at a record company, who want to take 80% of our income and then do no fucking work and not reply to emails for weeks at a time, we won't stand for it. So we are quite bullish in that respect, and we're quite protective of what we make. It's not even so much about protecting ourselves, it's more like protecting the music we've made. And by being on our own label, we have a lot more control, a lot more protection. It's a lot more work for us to do.
Of course.
What it means is we're not relying on people in the music industry who've never given a shit about our band. We're not sort of naively hoping this time maybe they'll give a shit. We just don't even use them. We just completely bypass them. It's actually increasingly easy to do that in the modern world, thanks to the internet. So for us, it's become a really important part of what we are, and how we operate. It is a lot more stress and more work, but it's removed a load of dead wood from the chain, and it's removed people taking your money.
Yeah.
It's enabled us to do more things with other artists too, because we release a lot of other things as well as our own, which is just really fun. You know, you feel like you're participating and you're actually offering something to the world as well as yourself. And we really enjoy that. I feel like, you know, as an artist, you grow up and at some point something inspires you so much musically that you're like, this is what I have to do with my life. You know, something has blown your mind as a young kid and you're like, I have to go and be in a band. And for me, it's like anything you can do to return that, you know, anything you can do to pass that on to the next people by, it might be your band, but it might not be. It might be some other band we put out on Jazz Life. Maybe they're going to blow some 8-year-old's mind, you know, like I had with Bruce Springsteen that made me want to be in a band. But anything you can put back to try and keep that sort of momentum, I think is really valuable. And for me, it's a very satisfying thing to put out someone else's music and, you know, and actually do a good job for them. Because a lot of people never did a good job for my band. So you can put some things right, you know?
Yeah, no, it is, you know, refreshing, incredible attitude to hear from you. Yeah, I was really impressed a little while ago when you mentioned about the care that you take in picking your support bands, because as a fan, you can notice that, you know.
It matters to us, you know. I want to see a band that I love. If we're going on tour, I want to see a band that I think is fucking amazing every night because we watch them, you know.
Yeah.
I don't want some business person to decide, take this band, it's good for tickets or it's good for publicity, whatever. I want a band that I think is going to be fucking awesome every night. And I want our fans to come to a show and from the minute they walk in the door, have an amazing time. Yeah. Like that stuff. Yeah. We care about that. And that's ironically, one of the things the music industry gets annoyed about. Because they'll be like, we put this band because, for example, the same booking agent has a band, so they want to put one of their own artists on the same tour. And we'll be like, no, we don't want that band. And they'll be like, well, you're being very difficult about this. Like, no, I'm fucking not. Yeah. I'm trying to make this whole thing really good. And you're just ticking a box in like your work. Like that's the stuff that we get told we're difficult about. It's wild.
It is a crazy industry. Jazz Life has put out some great music. When I was researching for this interview, I saw a couple of bands that sprung straight out to me: Tiger Cub and Martha Gunn, that I both really enjoy. My question to you would be, with oversight of what you've got coming up, who are you excited about at the minute?
At the minute, who have I been listening to that I really like? There's actually a Brighton band that I really like called Ciel, Ciel, who are really cool. They're based in Brighton. Yeah. But the singer's Dutch and the guitarist is Spanish, so they're all from all over the place. Yeah. But they're really cool. Also, I listen to a lot of music that isn't from Brighton, but also a lot of the stuff I listen to is electronic or sort of hip hop inspired. I found this artist the other day. Hang on, let me get the name right. Hang on, where do I find it on my Spotify? It's this American artist, and it's kind of like hip hop, soul. Sounds like it's all been made in a bedroom. Eve Tumor. Okay. See that? I don't know if you can see that.
Oh yeah.
I heard it the other day. This artist has like millions of plays, so maybe everybody knows, and I've only just found them. But it's fucking amazing. Yeah. It's completely wild. It's very like modern because it draws from lots of different elements of music history, but smashes them together like hardcore in this really kind of disrespectful, kind of very free way where it's like, I don't really care if these genres make sense. Bang, we're doing it. Yeah, exactly. That. Yeah, probably too popular to sign to Jazz Life, but
possibly. But no,
yeah, my recent discovery that I've been really enjoying, Eve Tumor.
Obviously with the release of the album tonight, you're going to be very busy. You got the TV show happening tonight. Good luck with all of that. Thank you very much for giving me your time.
Thanks
Really,
for having me on the
appreciate
podcast.
that. Is there anything else that you'd like to say to the people listening to the podcast?
What would I like to say to people listening to the podcast? No, Joe, what? I don't have any grand thoughts about the world. I'm just a musician who puts everything I have into making the music. So the only thing I want people to do is just listen to it.
Yeah.
Me talking about it, it's just a load of bullshit, really. All the important stuff is on the actual record.
Yeah, definitely. And I say, we've heard it. It is fantastic. Well done. And hopefully we'll be able to see you out on the road at some point soon when we can do that.
Yes.
But yeah, thank you very much for your time, for joining us on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Well, there it is. The first podcast from Full Pelt Music is in the bag. We will have another edition of the Full Pelt Music Podcast coming soon, and the return of the Discover New Music podcast coming very soon. We hope you enjoyed our chat today with Steven from Blood Red Shoes. Please do remember to check them out on social media and to check out their new album, Ghosts on Tape. Speaking of social media, just the usual reminder for me to please follow us on social media at Full Pelt on Facebook, at Full Pelt Music on Twitter and Instagram. And if you are watching the YouTube edition of the podcast, then please do subscribe, please do like. It really helps us out. And we will see you again soon for another edition of the Full Pelt Music Podcast.